What's up everyone, Rob here, and welcome to the Newb DM. Today I'm going to be going over how to find your first campaign and how to start your first group. This is the start of my series, Tips for the DM, and I was really considering what would be the best subject to tackle for the first episode. So I thought to myself, whenever I'm starting up a new campaign, what are some of the challenges that I face that I could give some suggestions to you to help solve those problems? So when considering this, I came up with two issues that seem to go hand in hand, and they're issues that I know I've had to face a few times, and I'm sure many of you will or have had to experience, and I figure I would give the tips that I have to help you hopefully resolve some of these issues. So these two issues are creating your own story and finding a group to play that story. So let's start out by talking about how to create your own story. So when it comes to making a campaign for your story, you really have two options. You can either create your own story, or you can use pre-made modules. A pre-made module is a story that someone has written up that gives you more or less all the details you need to run a story from beginning to end. Now these modules can last anywhere up to a few hours worth of gameplay, anywhere up to a full campaign that lasts dozens and dozens of sessions. Now there are both community-made modules and there are modules that are put out by Wizards of the Coast. Now these community-made modules can be found all over the internet, and with a basic search you can find more than you will ever need. Now I'm not going to go into details on every single source of these different modules that you can find, but I do want to point out that Wizards of the Coast has a website called Dungeon Masters Guild, where I've actually posted a few of my own modules. I'll make sure to post a link to those down in the description. Now on Dungeon Masters Guild, DMs can go and upload their own modules that they've made, and then other Dungeon Masters can download those modules and use them in their own campaigns. You can find great content all throughout the website, and a lot of these modules are free. On top of that, Wizards of the Coast actually publishes a lot of their own material on there as well, and a lot of that is very high quality stuff. Wizards of the Coast also publishes many books that more or less are full campaigns that you can play from the very beginning to the very end and gives you every detail that you'll need to run these stories. This includes Storm King's Thunder and Rise of Tiamat and many, many more. These pre-made modules may be better for those of you who are lacking experience at making your own custom campaign, or who just don't have the desire to write out everything that's needed to play your own story. It's also pretty good for those of you who may be lacking on time and who don't have the ability to go through and write out an entire story. You also have the option of making your own custom story. Now this involves writing up the description of NPCs as well as the environment and making a cohesive story that will allow your players to travel along and experience different points of your world. Now, writing your own custom story is nice because it allows you as the DM to use your creativity to make a unique story that you can tailor-make to fit the players of your group. That being said, making your own custom campaign can be a little bit time-consuming. Now, for those of you who want to make your own custom campaign, there are countless resources out there at your disposal that you can find with just a basic search. This includes random quest, battle, and NPC generators, as well as countless websites and forums that will give you ideas and tips on how to make your own custom campaign. Now at this point, I'm sure you're asking yourself, Rob, what do you use? I actually use a combination of the two. Now you may be surprised to hear this, but I'm not perfect at every single aspect of tabletop role-playing games, and one of my weaknesses is cartography and map making. So I typically find that I have a hard time making maps of the land itself and coming up with names for towns and different regions. So I actually set my current campaign in the Forgotten Realms setting, and my players are actually traveling through the land of Faerun. So I use a lot of the different locations, and I actually occasionally incorporate some of the lore and history of Faerun into my stories. Now, that being said, the story that my party is currently playing through is 100% custom. I've made everything about it, including the NPCs, all the battles, all the different story arcs that are going on. Now, all of that being said, I'm not going to go into detail on how I make my campaign. That is a whole different topic for a whole nother video. Actually, that might be my next video. So now I want to switch topics and start talking about how to actually find a group. While that doesn't seem like a very difficult topic, I'm oftentimes seeing people asking online either how to find a group or create a group, or how to make a group and keep it from dissolving within a few play sessions. To touch on the first topic, I feel like one of the reasons a lot of people have a hard time finding a group isn't because there aren't people willing to play, but because back in the early days, D&D used to have a bad stigma behind it. A lot of people thought it was like an evil game or a game that caused people to do evil deeds. There was actually quite a large population that considered the game itself to be evil. That all being said, this is 2017, and a lot of that bad reputation that D&D used to have in the past has dissolved. Now, I'm not saying every person that you invite to come play D&D with you is going to stay in your group and be a permanent player. I'm not even saying that all of them are even going to be willing to come try it out. What I am saying is don't be scared to go out there and approach people who typically don't seem like your average role-playing type of person. The group that I'm currently playing with has people that have a variety of different occupations, none of which I would consider geeky, but we've still maintained a group that's been going on for quite a few months now. My wife's mother has even shown interest in playing before, and she's not much of a gamer or anything like that. She just knows it's something that I'm passionate about, and she would be willing to give it a try. My point is, don't be afraid to approach people you know. While worst case scenario, they may say no. Best case scenario, they say yes, and you just get a new player for your campaign. Now, on the chance that you can't find anybody that you personally know to play your game, there is always the option of using the internet. Now, one of the downsides of using the internet is that you do take the chance of finding a stranger who wants to play, and a lot of people may not be comfortable with inviting strangers to their house. I'm not trying to be paranoid, but at the same time, I am being realistic, and you can't quite trust everybody out there. I'm even hesitant on inviting people that I don't know too well over to my house. Luckily enough, there are viable options out there that are entirely free. For instance, you could use a library or another public building. A lot of these areas have meeting rooms or conference rooms that are available to the public, and not only is it a public place to play, but it also typically comes with a large table with chairs all around, so you have plenty of room to spread out and enjoy your game. The last option I can think of would be to maybe check out your local game or comic book store. A lot of those will have board game nights or D&D nights or something similar to that where you can go in and meet people who have common interests to yourself. The only downside to this, and it's a problem that I have, is that I don't live anywhere near a comic book store. The closest one to me is well over an hour away. But that being said, there are options, and as long as you try, it should be possible for you to find a group to play with. Now, keeping that group together, that's a whole different topic. From what I found, there's a few different things that could cause a group to fall apart. Maybe your players aren't having fun. Maybe they feel left out. Maybe they're getting burnt out with D&D. All of this can be addressed as long as you talk to your players. After every one of my sessions, I ask my players individually what they really did and what they really didn't like, and it gives me an idea of how I need to prepare future games to make sure that they're having a good time. If you don't want to ask them in person, ask them through a text message or an email or any other form of communication. As long as you can get that feedback from them, you can make sure that your game and your party stays happy. And remember, a happy party is a happy game, and a happy game will stay together. And that about sums it up for this video. If you all have any questions, or you have any tips for starting your own game, feel free to leave them down in the comments. Follow me on Twitter at the Newb DM. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, have fun.